Hi Virgo, welcome to your first time reading. This reading I'm going to do only for single Virgos. I've been getting a lot of emails about people that are completely single, that are not in a relationship, that have not met anyone. And I felt like, normally I look more into the relationship aspect. Why not just do a reading for the single Virgo? So here I am. I'm going to try something new that is just talking about all of you Virgos out there that are single. Okay? If this goes well, I may start doing it once a month. I will commit to once a month, continue to just give messages for the single Virgo. Okay, Virgo, so let's begin. So, in this particular moment, Virgo, you are coming out as the elk. And this is a very masculine energy. It's a very earthly, masculine energy. And it talks about your qualities. So, in some ways, Spirit wants me to talk about your good qualities, but also what are those things that you need to change so that your life can improve, so your life can change. So the good qualities here are being represented by the energy of the elk. And it talks about your ability to be someone that is reliable, someone who's very loyal and truthful and committed to be there for other people. This talks about being like a father figure or the mother figure or the best friend. And this is a quality that is beautiful to have, that not everybody, can, but you do, and it's what makes you the elk energy. But if you notice, this elk comes with the tarantula, which is a very feminine energy. So the elk, as I said, is a masculine energy, earthly, and this is a feminine energy, and it comes with the fire element. And when the tarantula comes in a reading, it talks about a crossroad, a time in your life or a moment in your life where you really have to make a major decision. You have to come to make, a determination about a change. This talks about having to reorganize your priorities because whatever you're doing is not working. And if you want it to work, and then you have to change your priorities. So that's basically what the tarantula talks about. It's the feminine energy, which describes our emotions, our feelings, our way of thinking, the way that we nurture ourselves or nurture others. And here in this case, it's talking about you need to harmonize this masculine and feminine energy. But the one that Spirit is asking about is the feminine one, which of course talks about our emotions. So it's very interesting because in the heart of the reading, so you have these two vibrations describing aspects of you. And then in the center of the reading, we have the High Priestess, which tells me that you do have intuition and you do know that you're intuitive. When it comes to the ideas, well, you have the Star. So you know that right now you're feeling inspired or you're aware of certain ideas that you're having in your mind. And then when we look at the card, the past, we see here a relationship. It could also be the home, the energy of the home. There is a focus, or you're dealing with something that has to do with the home. But when we look at the foundation, we have this Tower moment, which that right away, it tells me that the foundations, the values that you are abiding by in this situation is what's not supporting you. This is like trying to build a castle on sand. Whatever values or perceptions or belief that you have are the ones that are not supporting you during this time. And those are the ones that you're going to have to change. And once you do that, everything else will change. Now, of course, as I look forward into the cards, I see the Queen of Pentacles, okay? And this talks about stability, our ability to know what we need to do in order to create the stability that we want to have. And you're looking at the priest, right? The high priestess. You're looking at your intuition. But there's something that's got you like this. And these swords are not touching you. These are memories. And I'm asking myself, what are you remembering? What are you fuzzing about that is not allowing you to move forward? So when I look ahead, I see here that with the Seven of Wands, okay, you know what you need to do. You know what are the things that you want to have. But then we have this Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is positioned in the environment space. And this is telling me that some of you are struggling financially. There are some of you that are dealing with a situation due to a breakup. It could be a breakup of a home, a breakup of a family, a breakup of a relationship. And although this is something that you've left behind, it's still holding you back. Because somehow, in your hopes, you're wanting justice. And this justice could be either clarity about what to do, but could also be a desire for whatever situation you've had with this person or relationship, that you want justice. You want for this person to get what they deserve, just like what they did to you. So I feel here like there is a note of resentment or expectation or, guilt or, disappointment, where you're blaming the other person for whatever is happening to you. And although this is something that might have occurred a while back, you're still reminiscing. You're still thinking about it. It's like you're not over it. And that is causing you to conclude with this Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, we know that can represent news, but can also represent when we feel insecure or unsure about what to do, or we haven't learned our lessons, or we feel confused. So this state of mind, right, that you're having, it's what's getting in the way of your clarity. And somehow I feel like some of you, of course, I'm not describing every single Virgo out there, but I feel like some of you, on one end, you're very well aware of, what you need to do. But on the other hand, you're hoping that things may work out, that there's some sort of cataclysm that creates a miracle where you finally get to have your peace. And Spirit is saying, Virgo, what's going on? You need to upgrade, my friends, your values. Maybe you come from an upbringing where they've taught you that women should be at home, nurturing the home, while the man needs to provide. And let's face it, the current generation doesn't think that way. So maybe on one side, you want to be very independent and you want to succeed and you want to be, financially stable. But on the other hand, you're hoping that maybe a man may come and sweep you off your feet and provide you for the rest of your life. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but there is a conflict. And something has to give in. So either you let go of that expectation that some man has to provide for you, or you're going to have to buy into the idea that if you are going to depend of a man to make you happy, you better think again, because no one is responsible for your happiness. And there's, those days of having a prince and a white horse trying to come and resolve all of our problems are gone. So, we're talking here about upgrading our beliefs, because that is the foundations of this, reading, the Tower moment. And maybe that's part of what you're realizing. Maybe some of you are finally realizing that not everything you were taught when you were a little girl is true. But at the same time, you're having a difficult time overcoming the issue because you may be struggling financially, because maybe now you're dependent on other family members, because there's many reasons that as you look around you gives you the feeling of being doomed. And that has a lot to do with Pisces. So on one end we have Gemini, which talks about the twins, two faces of Eve, the good and the bad, the yin, the yang, our understanding of that. How do we harmonize these two energies? And on the other hand, Pisces talks about our dreams, our expectations, our creativity. And maybe, you have dreams that do not work for you anymore, and you need to change them. This can create perceptions that are not real. In my case, Virgo, many years ago, I had an incident with my mother, and it was many years ago. I was about 7 or 8, and that incident caused me to believe that I would spend my whole life trying to fix people that could not be fixed. I mean, think about it. I mean, we cannot control the reality of other people. We can only change our own. But I bought into this idea that I could prove my self-worth by trying to help people that were not really ready to change. And I spent my whole life attracting situations and relationships with people that were never going to change. And I got to a point that I thought, you know what? Why is it that things are happening in my life like this over and over again? And it wasn't until I did plant medicine that the plant showed me what I was doing. So I believe that in some ways you may be feeding yourself something that is not true. And not until you go deep within yourself and dig, you're not going to find it. And not until you stop looking at your surroundings, things are not going to change. And that requires us, the only way that we can change our surroundings and what's happening around us is changing ourselves. But that requires us to dig deep into those traumas and emotions of unworthiness to be able to find the root of the problem. And a lot of times we've created so many emotions with so much sensitivity that it doesn't help us or allow us to look. I don't know if you've felt sometimes that there are certain people that are so emotionally sensitive that you can never tell them anything because it's like they're walking on eggs. They're responding and reacting right away and defending themselves. And you got to ask yourself, is this where you're at? Are you constantly overreacting? You have so much memories and trauma of being taken advantage of or being, mistreated or abused that you can't cope with your emotions? Because the one thing here that, Spirit is talking about change is that part, which is the feminine energy. The interesting thing here is that the energy that it's harmonizing or is representing the harmony is the moon, which is, is the 4th house in astrology, Cancer. But we know that the moon represents the archetype of, what are our emotions like? How do we feel about them? What is our views of, the role as a feminine? And we all have that. You don't have to be only a woman. But, I personally feel like the feminine energy today is very corrupted. And women, we're trying to overcome those challenges by compete with the male energy, when it should never be about competition. It should be about, you know, our strength, how to use our strength in relationship with the masculine energy and cooperate. That's my view, but you know, not everybody feels that way. So, you know, here Spirit is saying, look, there is one way that you can resolve this issue if this rings true to you, and is find a dogma or some sort of practice that can feed your spirit. Okay, so you got to go in search of something that feeds your soul so that you can start finding a little bit of joy, because not until you find that joy, you're not going to find the way. So keep that in mind. That's one of the options. The other option is to start looking at your beliefs and see what beliefs do you have that are not in tune with the information or the knowledge that you're having today. You know, my husband had cancer, and he had chosen the path, the holistic path. But he was constantly going to doctors, to Western medicine, trying to figure out where he's at. And, you know, I came to a point that I thought, well, that is a conflict, because Western medicine, or, you know, modern medicine, relates or approaches cancer very different than holistic. So if you're going to follow holistic approach, you got to completely abide by the concepts of holistic medicine. But instead, you're using a very different model, and that would create so much stress. So you got to do the same. I mean, what are your values? Because sometimes you may have very, you know, updated views about who you are or the role that you're playing in a relationship, in a family, but your values could be updated, you know, outgraded, outdated. That's what I mean to say, outdated. So either you change the thoughts or the ideas, or you change the beliefs. Something has to happen. Otherwise, there's a conflict. So, you know, I'm not here to judge you. You know, I'm just here trying to explain something that Spirit is saying so that you can understand. So here is saying, you know, something's got to give. But, you know, there are so many wonderful qualities here, and especially with the High Priestess. So why not just change the belief? And beliefs are hard to change. And especially when they're dying, a lot of times they make you believe that it's never going to happen. And that state, that emotional state, can be quite difficult. But that's how the belief behaves. So you have to be very aware. Now, I decided to ask, okay, so what kind of energy it's, you know, coming from this perspective? What is the energy, the future energy that single Virgos are attracting? And the three cards that came out was the Hangman, Two of Pentacles, and the Three of Pentacles. And now I'm going to ask you, Virgo, okay, the Hangman, okay? The Hangman, we know that sometimes everything stops in our lives when things are not clear. But in those moments, we can become illuminated. We can become clear. The Hangman, it also represents the energy of the Empress when it gets to a dead end. When the Empress, determines to get out of a situation, it knows that in order to gain something good, sometimes you got to give up something. Now, the next card talks about trying to balance things out, trying to, it's like I'm trying to handle a situation here that is not easy. And on one end, I'm trying to cope with the Hangman, no communication, walking away. And on the other end, what are you expecting for a miracle, for this person to come back, or for someone to come into your life and save you? I mean, I don't know, whatever the situation is, something you're expecting, that spirit is saying, hey, Virgo, it's time to be honest. There's nothing for you to prove to other people, or maybe you're pretending something with the people around you, that you're strong and that you're tough and that you're over it, when in reality you're not. And maybe this is what's happening here. And maybe that's what's causing you to feel stuck, maybe even depressed. If this is the situation, and you got to come to terms with that. There's no need to prove anything. You need to come to terms with how you feel. Because not until you're honest with yourself, you're not going to be able to change the situation, no matter how much help you get. So I see that for some of you singles out there, you're still dealing with situations from the past. And maybe you happen to be one of those people that you've been out of a relationship for 5 years, but you haven't gotten to that point where you have taken responsibility for your own actions and still blaming the loser that you had last time for everything that is happening to you right now. Sometimes it happens. We spend all of our lives blaming other people for all of our problems and not taking responsibility for our own selves. And of course, I'm using that as an example because here, you have a 9 of Swords, and then you have a 5 of Pentacles, which is talking about the same situation. Something is amiss. Something is not right. And that has a lot to do with this Tower in the foundation. So you need to start changing your foundation. And not until you do that, the cards around you won't change. At least not for the better. And this is what I see here with some of my single Virgos. So Virgo, this is a time, my friends, that you have the same opportunity as any Virgos out there. And that is to find balance and to find harmony. And if you want to, my friend, you're going to have to finally release the past and start anew. Look it through the eyes of a child and let go and forget about what happened and start anew, looking through the eyes of a child. Because not until you do that, my friends, things are not going to get better for you. So if you've been asking yourself, how come is it that I'm not attracting anyone? And then Spirit is saying, you know what? Reflect upon your feelings and emotions. If you feel that why didn't the relationship, the last one didn't work out, and why did I put myself through so much hurt and pain, and then you need to look at your self-worth. What are your values? If you feel that you're unhappy and things are not working out for you and you're even feeling depressed, then you have to find a path or a practice that's going to help feed your soul. But you get to decide, my friends. So thank you so much for being here. I hope this helped, and I will see you next time. Best of luck, Virgo.